Good morning, dear students. You all are welcome in today's class. In this class, we are going to start a new lesson. But before that, I have written a question on the board. Let's guess the answer for it. So the question here is how heights of mountains and distances of long distant objects being found out. Now heights of mountains, for example, say Mount Everest, or distant objects means could be moon, earth, a moon, sun. So how these distances have been found out? So do you think these are found by actual or direct measurement, by measuring it with tape? So this question is open to you. Think over it, and I am giving you an example. Then we will start our lesson. So here in this example, you can see that I have drawn here a tree, and this is the shadow of tree. This is the shadow cast by this tree. Now here a man which is of 6 feet tall, and the shadow cast of this man is of 4 feet. So now similarly here it is shadow of tree which is 20 feet. Now from this example, what we have to find? We have to find what is the height of tree. So with the example here, we have two values here, that a 6 feet tall man cast, his shadow is cast of 4 feet. Then with the help of this, we have to find that what is the height of tree if it casts shadow of 20 feet. So here what we are getting here, that is 6 feet with 4 feet. We get, if you see, we have formed a triangle here, and it is 90 degree over here. This horizontal distance is 4 feet. This vertical distance is 6 feet. Now similarly we will relate this tree in this measurement. Like if this horizontal distance is 20 feet, what will be the vertical distance? Now you can see here, this angle is equal to this angle. This is 90 degree, this is 90 degree. So from this, the triangles formed between shadow and man, this triangle and this triangle which is for shadow of tree and distance or length of tree, these two triangles are similar triangles. Right? So with this similarity, how can we relate these values? We relate these values in the ratio that horizontal distance is to vertical distance of a man is equal to, let this could be x. So horizontal distance upon x, that is the vertical distance. So this is how, by transposing this, what we get? 20 into 6. X we brought here, 6 we sent there. So this is how, what is the actual answer we get? We get here as 30 feet. So this is how we get the height of tree as 30 feet. So without actually measuring the height of tree, we have found this height of tree with the help of similarity of triangles concept, right? So now you must have understood which lesson we are going to start today. That is lesson number 6, triangles. So you have studied about triangles many things in previous classes. About triangles you have learned so many properties of triangles, theorems of triangles. So now let's see what we are going to learn in this class and in this lesson, in this grade. So let's see what we are going to learn in this triangles lesson. First of all, introduction. So in this introduction, whatever the concepts of related to triangles you have learned in previous classes will be seen in this introduction part. Then you are going to learn about similar figures. Like in the previous example, you have seen that how the two triangles were similar. Then particularly we are going to see in this lesson is similar triangles. Then criteria for similarity of triangles. Then we are going to see areas of similar triangles. And lastly, you have studied about this and you have applied this Pythagoras theorem in the previous classes. But still, we are going to see what is Pythagoras theorem and application of Pythagoras theorem. So this is how we will go through these concepts and we will explore more about triangles in this lesson. So children, in today's class we are going to revise what all concepts you have learned about triangles in these previous classes, so that we are going to introduce or we are going to see the introduction of triangles.
Once again, you all are welcome in this class. Let's recall what you have learned about triangles in the previous classes. We are going to see what is meant by triangle and its classification, some properties of triangles, congruent triangles, and criteria for congruency of triangles. Triangle is defined as a closed figure consisting of 3 line segments linked end to end is called a triangle. So you can see here the various shapes of triangles given in different colors. So based on these shapes, triangles are classified as, here on the basis of length of sides, the triangles are classified as equilateral triangles. A triangle in which all sides are of same length is an equilateral triangle, and each angle of equilateral triangle is of 60 degrees. So here you can see the triangle with sides, each side of length A, and each angle is of 60 degree. Next is an isosceles triangle, where a triangle in which two sides are of same length. So you can see here in the second triangle or second figure, that is A triangle with base angles are given as red colors and the vertex angle you can see here in the blue color. So the sides opposite to equal angles are equal. So they are given as length. The next classification based on the length of sides is scalene triangle. A triangle in which none of the sides are of same length. So you can see in the third shape, the sides of triangles given are one side is 6 cm, other is 8 cm and the third is 10 cm. So from this figure you can see that none of the side is of equal length or same length. Children, you have already learned about types of triangles on the basis of measure of angles. So here you can see three types of triangles we have on the basis of measure of angles: acute angle triangle, obtuse angle triangle and right angle triangle. So triangles in which the measures of all three angles are less than 90 degrees are called acute angle triangle. You can see here in this example triangle PQR, angle P is of 50 degree, angle Q is of 60 degree and angle R is of 70 degree. All three angles in this triangle PQR are less than 90 degrees. So that's why angle PQR is acute triangle. Next is obtuse angle triangle, where the measure of one of the angle is greater than 90 degrees. So you can see in the triangle STU, angle T is of 120 degree, which is greater than 90 degrees. So STU, triangle STU is called obtuse triangle. Next is right angle triangle, where measure of one of the angle equals to 90 degrees. So here again you can see triangle PQR, which is in pink color, where angle Q is of 90 degree. So this triangle PQR is called right triangle. Now let's see what all properties you have learnt about triangles. First, centroid. Second, orthocenter. Third, incenter. Fourth, circumcenter. Next is angle sum property, exterior angle property and triangle inequality theorem. Let's see what is a centroid. Centroid is also called as medians of triangle. So median of a triangle is a line segment joining a vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. A triangle has three medians. The three medians always meet at a point as called centroid. Centroid divides the medians in the ratio 2:1. Each median divides the triangle into two smaller triangles which have same area. So let's see with this example that in triangle ABC there are three medians. On AB side, CP is the median, P is the midpoint of AB. So with this CP, this triangle ABC is divided into two equal smaller triangles, that is APC and BPC. Similarly, BC, side BC has median AN, which divides this ABC triangle into two smaller triangles, that is ABN and CBN. ACN. Similarly, AC has a median BM. So thus, this triangle ABC has three medians, namely CP, AN, BM, and they are meeting at a single point which is known as centroid of the triangle, which divides these medians in the ratio 2:1. It means this centroid is dividing this CP in the ratio 2:1. If we give this centroid as O, point O, then CO each upon OP will be equal to 2:1. Similarly, we will have here BO upon OM is equal to 2:1 and AO upon ON is equal to 2:1. Now let's see what is orthocenter. It is formed by altitudes of a triangle. So altitude is a line segment from a vertex that intersects the opposite side of a triangle. So you can see here in triangle ABC, this on AB side, C is the opposite vertex of AB. So CP is a perpendicular on AB. So this CP is an altitude. Similarly, from B, opposite side is CA. BM is another perpendicular, which is also known as altitude. And lastly, here from vertex A on the opposite side BC, AN is a perpendicular or altitude. So this is how in this triangle we have three altitudes and they are concurrent. So what does mean by concurrent? It means they are meeting at one point. So the concurrent, it means the point through which more than two lines are passing. That's a concurrent point, and this concurrent point is nothing but orthocenter. So the point at which all the altitudes meet is known as orthocenter. Here we are going to see what is incenter. It is formed by angle bisectors of a triangle. So here you can see all the bisectors of angles of a triangle. In this triangle, these line segments are angle bisectors of these angles, and they are meeting at this point. So you can see here they are meeting at this point. So this point is nothing but its incenter. So the point at which all the bisectors of angles of triangle meet is known as incenter. And from this point, if you draw a circle, so you will get a circle inside the triangle. You can see here, circle inside the triangle. Now let's see what is circumcenter. It is formed by perpendicular bisectors of a triangle. All the perpendicular bisectors of sides of a triangle are concurrent. So here you can see in triangle ABC, this point A is a perpendicular bisector point. Line segment passing through point A is a perpendicular bisector of side BC. Then a line segment passing through this point B is perpendicular bisector of AC, and line segment passing through point C is a perpendicular bisector of segment AB. So first of all, just recall what is a perpendicular bisector. You can see here point A and point B, and how to draw a perpendicular bisector of this line segment. By taking A as center and the radius more than half of AB, we are drawing two arcs to the above and down of AB. Similarly, by same radius and B as center, we are intersecting the previous arcs. And this is how the line segment which we get is nothing but the perpendicular bisector of AB. So you can see here, that means this point is, in this example, we have C, point C. You can see here point C is perpendicular bisector of AB. So this is how, when these perpendicular bisectors are extended, they meet at this point, and this point is nothing but, it's known as circumcenter of the triangle. So I hope you have understood this. So it means the point at which all the perpendicular bisectors of sides meet is known as circumcenter of a triangle. Now let's see how we get area of a triangle. So area of a triangle we get by formula half into base into height. So what does mean by base and height? You all know. Here, if we have a triangle P, Q, R, then this PQ is base. PR is base, and a perpendicular drawn from opposite vertex Q is height. So this is how we have to identify first what is the base and what is the height, and then by putting these values in the formula half into base into height, we get area of a triangle. Next, in the 9th standard, you have studied about Heron's formula. In Heron's formula, what they have given us, when we know all three sides of a triangle, so here a triangle, say A, B, C, where all three sides are given. All three sides we know. For example, side AB has length A, side BC with length B, and side AC with length C. Then what area of triangle by Heron's formula is in square root S into bracket S minus A, S minus B, and S minus C. Now what does mean by S? So here S means it's a semi-perimeter, and that we get by S is equal to A plus B. It means length of sum of length of three sides, A plus B plus C upon 2. So children, it's a recall. You have already learnt about this. So after finding S, we have to put these values into this formula, that is square root S in bracket S minus A, in other bracket S minus B into S minus C. So this is how we get the area of triangle by another formula, that is Heron's formula, when we know the lengths of all three sides of a triangle. So I hope you have understood and you have recalled how to find S and how to find area of triangle by Heron's formula. Now next is the area of equilateral triangle. You know what is equilateral triangle? You have seen what is an equilateral triangle. So it means all three sides of an equilateral triangle are same or of equal length. So in equilateral triangle, the area of triangle we get by this formula, that is square root 3 upon 4 into a square, where all sides are of equal lengths. A, B, C are equal lengths. So how it is possible? Let's see. If we have a triangle here, equilateral triangle P, Q, R, with sides, all sides as A, and A, then this is the formula by which we get the area of equilateral triangle, that is square root 3 upon 4 into a square. Now let's revise angle sum property. It is one of your favorite property and it is used mostly in many proofs. The sum of measures of three angles of a triangle equals to 180 degree. Here it's given that triangle ABC is with angle A, which is given number 2, angle B and angle C. Now we have to construct line segment PQ, which is passing through point A and parallel to line segment BC. So here you can see angle 1 plus angle 2 plus angle 3 is equal to 180 degree, because all these three angles are in straight line. Now you can prove here that angle 1 is equal to angle B, because they are alternate angles. Similarly, angle 3 and angle C are equal. Angle C is equal to angle 3. Same reason, alternate angles. Now if you substitute the values of angle 1 and angle 3 by angle A and angle B and angle C respectively, then we get angle A plus angle B plus angle C is equal to 180 degree. So this is how it's proved that sum of measures of three angles of a triangle equals to 180 degree. Now let's see an interesting property of a triangle, that is exterior angle property. An exterior angles property states that the angle formed on extension of any side of a triangle is equal to sum of any two interior angles. How it is possible? Let's see. Here it's given in this triangle angle 1, angle 2, and this angle we will take as x. Now, as you have learned that sum of angles of triangle is equal to 180 degree. So here we can say angle 1 plus angle 2 plus angle x is equal to 180 degree as per angle sum property. So here we can write, instead of that, we can write angle x is equal to its angle x. Angle x is equal to 180 minus angle 1 plus its angle. It's not root sign, it's angle. Angle 1 plus angle 2. Now you can observe here that angle x and angle 3, they form a linear pair angles. So here one more equation we can write, that angle x plus angle 3 is equal to 180 degree. Now from this we can write angle x is equal to 180 degree minus angle 3. So from this equation 1 and this equation 2, what we get, that LHS angle x, LHS in this equation, say equation 2, it is angle x. In equation 1, RHS is 180 minus angle 1 plus angle 2, and here in equation 2, RHS is 180 minus angle 3. So it's angle 3. So from this, what we get, that angle 1 plus angle 2 is equal to angle 3. So this is called exterior angles property, where this 3 is exterior angle of triangle, given triangle, where angle 1 and angle 2 are remote exterior angles of angle 3. Now let's revise the next property, that is triangle inequality theorem. So as per triangle inequality theorem, any side of a triangle is always shorter than the sum of other two sides. What it means, here in the example, you can see that this is the triangle with sides 7, 9 and 8. So, as per triangle inequality theorem, if we add 7 plus 8, that sum is equal to 15, which is greater than the third side, which is 9. If we see in the next example, 8 plus 9, which is equal to 17. And again you can see here this 17 is greater than the third side, which is 7. Similarly, in the third case, 9 plus 7, which is equal to 16, greater than the remaining third side, which is 8. So this is how the triangle is only possible when all the sides are put in these conditions where the sum of two sides is always greater than the third side, or we can say that the third side or one of the side is always shorter than some of the other two sides. So here we will see how it is possible, or can we take other way this condition to prove that this condition is wrong. Now see, in this example of triangle inequality theorem, here the sides are given 4 units, 5 units and 10 units. Can we form triangle with these sides? So here we can say that we cannot form a triangle where if we take 4 plus 5, which is equal to 9. So here if we take the sum of two sides, for example 4 plus 5, that should be more than the remaining third side. But here in this case, this is not greater than, the sum of two sides is not greater than the third side. It means here triangle inequality theorem is applied, and then we cannot form a triangle in this case. So we can prove that in triangle the sum of two sides should be greater than the third side. So now let's revise what is congruent triangles and which all tests we have to prove that two given triangles are congruent. Triangles are congruent when all corresponding sides and interior angles are congruent. The triangles will have the same shape and size, but one may be the mirror image of the other. So here it's given that congruent triangles do not have to be in same position. They only have to be identical in size and shape. What it means, let's see with this given example that in triangle ABC and triangle DEF, you can see the angles are given with same colors. That here angle A is equal to angle D. Angle B is equal to angle E, and angle C is equal to angle F. So this is how the angles are equal. Similarly, you can see here side AB is equal to side DE. Side BC is equal to side EF. and side AC is equal to side DF. Now, when these all corresponding sides and interior angles are equal, it means these two triangles, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. But here it does not mean that the position of angle A should be equal to position of angle D. Here you can see in this example, the position of angle B is not, here it is given in the left of triangle and here it is in the triangle DEF, it is given right of it. And two corresponding equal angles are closer to each other, that is angle C and angle F. So this is how congruent triangles means their corresponding sides are equal and their interior angles are equal. They are in same shape and size but need not to be in same position. Now let's see the various criteria for congruency of triangle. So here the first test is SSS. It means side, side, side test. If three pairs of sides of two triangles are equal in length, then the triangles are congruent. We can see it with this example that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF with AB equal to its corresponding side of other triangle DEF, that is DE. AC is equal to DF and BC is equal to EF. This is how the three sides of triangle ABC are equal to the corresponding sides of triangle DEF, and that's why we say that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF by SSS congruence test. So you can see in the example here that two triangles are given with sides. Here the base is 4 cm. In other triangle again the base is 4 cm. Next, one of the side is 3.5 in both the triangles and other side is 4.5 in both the triangles. That's why by SSS test we can say these two given triangles are congruent. Now let's recall SAS congruence test, as it means side angle side. If two pairs of sides of two triangles are of equal in length and the included angles are of same measurement, then the triangles are congruent. So here this included word is very important. Included, you can see here included angles. It means if in this example we have triangle MNP, so in triangle you can say in triangle MNP and triangle QRS, In triangle QRS, you can see here two sides are congruent of M and P with the corresponding sides of triangle QRS. So here we have MP, which is equal to children. See, you can see I am trying my best to write it on the board. So here, if this is of 1 mark and this is 1 mark given, so it means this side MP is equal to RS. Next, this side PN of triangle MNP is equal to side QS of triangle QRS. QS. And angle P, which is named as MPN, is equal to angle S. So this is how this angle P is included between these two sides MP and PN. Similarly, in triangle QRS, this triangle S is included between side QS and RS. So this is how these two triangles are, these two angles are included between two equal sides, corresponding sides. So we can say that these triangles are congruent. Triangle MNP you can see here MNP is congruent. See, this is the congruent sign, congruent to triangle QRS by QRS by SAS congruence test. So I hope you are enjoying this class. Now let's see what is the next congruence test, that is ASA test. It means angle side angle. Now you can see here side is given in between two angles. It means this is included side. Let's see what is ASA. If two pairs of angles of two triangles are equal in measurement and the included sides are equal in length, then the triangles are congruent. So here you can say, as similar to the previous example, here there it was angle included, here it is side included between two given equal angles. So here we can write in triangle ABC, and triangle DEF, so here you can see the equal sides and equal angles. So angle here is angle B is equal to angle E. Angle angle C of triangle ABC is equal to angle F. And the included side between angle B and C is side BC. Side BC is equal to side EF. So side BC is equal to side EF, and thus we can say that these two triangles are congruent by A S A congruence test. So now let's see what is RHS congruence test. RHS, R for right angle, H for hypotenuse, and S for side. Now this test is applicable only for right angle triangles. So you can see here the triangle ABC is a right angle triangle, as well as triangle XYZ is a right angle triangle. Let's see what that test states. If two right angle triangles have their hypotenuse equal in length and pair of other sides is equal in length, then the triangles are congruent. So here one of the side is hypotenuse should be congruent with the corresponding hypotenuse of other triangle, and then other one side, if it is equal to the corresponding side of other triangle, then we can say that with these two sides equal, these triangles are congruent. For example, here let's write here in triangle ABC, angle B, this is the condition given, and it must be to prove that these two right angle triangles are congruent. That triangle B is equal to triangle Y, angle B is equal to angle Y, that is 90 degree. And then in this case, if hypotenuse is, here hypotenuse, what is the hypotenuse here? Opposite to B, it means AC, side AC. If AC is equal to hypotenuse, yes, opposite to Y is XZ. If AC side is equal to XZ and other side here given is BC, one of the leg of that triangle BC is equal to YZ. So in this case, we say that this triangle ABC is congruent to triangle XYZ. Thus, children, we have recalled all the concepts related to triangle what you have studied in the previous classes. Now, in the beginning of this class, I had asked you one question that how we count or how we find the heights of mountains or long distances like distance from Earth to Moon, Earth to different stars, different planets. So there I had given one example as well after it, and I hope you have found the answer for it. Do we get it by direct measurements, by using measuring tape to find the distance between long distances or the heights of mountains? So here the answer is no. We get these distances or the heights by using indirect measurements, that is measurements based on the concept of similarity of figures. So that's why we are going to explore similarity of triangles in next classes. Till then, you revise what we have done in this class, and I hope you have enjoyed this while recalling all the concepts of triangles. So let's stop here. So now, dear children, bye bye. Thank you for listening me so patiently.